Welcome, my name is Ian. Today we're going to be going over rangefinder cameras. This is the Canonet Giii QL-17. The original Canonet was produced in 1961 and they had many iterations leading up to this final version, produced in 1972. That would make this camera just over 50 years old and it still holds up today. Canon carried the same design characteristics throughout the entirety of the Canonet's production life. It was coined the poor man's Leica as it resembled their iconic rangefinder cameras but focused on the more general consumer side of things. The main innovation from the time Canon spent working on the line was their QL system. QL stands for quick load. It was a big deal at the time. It allowed basically anybody to load film reliably and not worry about getting it wrong. It's very hard to mess up. You just open the back here, which lifts a little metal flap, and then when the door is half shut, that flap holds the film in place. You just have to make sure that the film slots are lined up down on the winder teeth, and you are good to go. This is my second one, actually. I recently picked up a new one from a friend of mine because I wanted to retire my father's well-used one that I've been using on and off for the past 5 years. The old one still functions pretty good. The shutter just gets a little laggy when it's below freezing outside. And the lens is dented in, which makes filters not an option. It's also missing the battery/viewfinder window that went missing at some point. Rangefinders are very cool, but also very weird. They offer quite a different shooting experience when compared to most other cameras. Here's my reasons why I love this camera and rangefinders in general. Number one is going to go to the sleek design and the simplicity. The bodies are very minimalistic. The only controls on them usually are the winder and the shutter. On the lens is where you'll find everything else. This lens is a non-removable fixed 40mm prime lens sporting a f1.7 aperture. In the middle of the lens you'll find your aperture adjustment, which has an auto setting and does well just about 90% of the time, I'd say. The light meter on the Canonet's located up front on the lens, which is a lovely design because if you have a lens cap on, the camera won't fire, just as long as you're on auto. I personally use a case on mine and tend not to run a lens cap, but when you're using a rangefinder, you're actually not looking through the lens. So you could compose a shot, hit the shutter, go about your day, and have no idea that you completely forgot about the lens cap and you missed the shot. But sometimes I look around in multiple directions, meter different areas of the scene I'm capturing, and then hop into manual, know exactly what setting I need to expose what I want to expose. This can be helpful if something's backlit or in low light scenarios. There's a couple instances where you'd want to look around a little bit, meter a few things, and kind of like take the average or take your best guess as to what you think the exposure should be. Closer to the front of the lens is where you'll find your shutter speed, ranging from bulb to 1/500th of a second. And then on the sides, you've got ISO selection and self-timer. Down under, you'll find your focus knob, which has a very tight focus throw of only about 1 inch. When you move this, it actually moves a small mirror inside the body, which is directed over to the main viewfinder to create a dual image parallax for you to focus with. It's completely different from any SLR, DSLR, and it's super cool. And this leads me on to my second point. Rangefinders force you to slow down and put more thought towards the composition. In order to properly focus the lens, you need to first position whatever it is you want to be in focus directly in the middle of the viewfinder. Focus until the two images in the viewfinder merge into one. Then hold that focus while you actually compose the frame from there. I found that the 40mm on the Canonet does a very good job of replicating what I would say is a real-life field of view, making it easier to connect and immerse yourself into the photos when done correctly. Reason number 3 takes reason number 2 and flips it right on its head. Having such a short focus throw allows you to zone focus pretty accurately. Since there's only about 1 inch to work with, you know exactly where your focus is without needing to look most of the time. You can kind of think of it as like close, mid-range, and far are your 3 settings. I found this is best when shooting at f8 or above, because mid-range can be a little bit hit or miss at faster apertures. This is all to say that having these simple camera operations allow you to pop off photos very quickly and with pretty good accuracy with some practice. However, I don't feel that this quote-unquote sloppy shooting style should be used at all times, but it definitely has its place. The fourth and final reason why I love rangefinders is because you get to see the actual split second that the photo is taken with your own eye. On just about every other style of camera, there's a split second where the viewfinder goes black when you take the photo. You don't get to see the actual moment until you get your film back. Whereas rangefinders, the viewfinder is completely separate from the lens, meaning there's no blackout. You see the exact moment that you're capturing in time. When you take a shot that you're happy with, you can really feel it right then and there when shooting on a rangefinder camera. Rangefinders are a pretty niche style of camera, I would say. They're becoming harder and harder to find, but if you're able to secure one or give one a try, I would 100% recommend it. Like I said earlier, it really makes you slow down and think about the photo you're trying to capture. However, they can have a bit of a learning curve even if you are used to other cameras. It's easy to get close on the focus, but tough to nail it. When closer to f1.7, it's pretty hard to be tack sharp, because even an inch of backwards movement when reframing after focusing can lead to a pretty drastic miss sometimes. I try not to beat myself up about this too much, but it's definitely going to happen here and there. The photo's still going to have that special charm of being shot on film, but it's like anything, practice is key, and the more you do it, the better you'll get. If you're trying to line something up very particularly, you'll need to account for the fact that the viewfinder is higher and slightly off to the side from where the lens is actually taking the photo. This can lead to things being ever so slightly off center, in an annoying way usually, but this can be mitigated by taking your time, learning the camera, and like I said, practicing. Although I still find myself making these mistakes from time to time, after many rolls through my Canonets, it's part of the game, and it feels like you learn something new with every roll. I hope this video helped you understand what makes a rangefinder camera, and why they're so weird and fun to shoot, and why I'm still using one 50 years later in 2023. And encourage you to try one out if you're into film photography. They can teach you a ton, and also give you a new perspective on photography as a whole. They've done both of those for me, definitely. But thank you for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. And yeah, peace.